Well, hey, Cine-Maniacs, Indian Cine-Maniacs. How's it going?
Great.
Hello.
Fantastic.
We
Fantastic.
watched an Indian film this week.
I know.
Hey.
I mean, we are Cine-Maniacs, but we're specifically Indian Cine-Maniacs for the most part.
Cine-Maniacs.
Cine-Maniacs with an exclamation point.
Exclamation
With an
Everybody have a
axe.
good week. Welcome back.
Yes.
All right, so tonight's film.
Sorry, hold on. Can
Go.
I say something
Oh,
before we get
please.
into the movie?
Okay.
Some of you fans discovered my Instagram account, Solid Gould. That's the name of my gym. And one of my videos has over 700 likes from Indian fans. So thank you very much. That's very sweet of you to discover me.
Holy cow.
So Solid
cool.
Gould is happy to have you watch videos
Solid
of me picking
Gould.
things up and putting them down. So thank you.
Ralph, do you ring the bell for that or no?
I can if you'd like.
Yeah, you should.
Still have the
Cool,
bell.
man. Come
It's
on, ring
green.
the
It
bell,
might
yeah.
go.
There you go.
Good job.
Very nice.
All right, well, good.
Congratulations.
All right, so let's talk
Oh,
about.
wait. One thing I just got to say. Raquel Welch passed away.
What is that? Okay, we saved that for the other one.
Oh, but
She was an international star. So
She was an international star, and she's my fantasy woman. So rest in peace,
Well,
Raquel Welch.
wait, I
You
thought
gonna do
Aamir
that?
Khan was your fantasy.
Well, that's a whole different
Yeah.
fantasy.
Well, let's talk about her on the other show quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because she made quite a few memorable films.
Yeah, and Tom Sizemore is in critical condition. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that as
I
well.
Well, we're
saw
going to get
that.
to him next week.
Yeah.
What's that?
We're going to get to him next week.
Oh my God, that's awful. All right,
God, we
so
haven't
tonight,
talked
Bell,
about
the
Ian
Bells died too. Richard
Yeah.
Bell.
oh,
Yeah,
Richard
Richard
Belzer,
Belzer.
that's right.
Belzer.
That's right. That's another big one to
Yeah.
talk about. But tonight, let's talk about PK. I don't
PK.
think we need to break this up. I think we can do spoilers. It's been out since
Yeah,
2012.
2014.
14 or 12. You said 12 earlier.
That's 14.
Controversial film.
But yes,
Yeah.
it is. But I think we can spoil this one without a separate thing. Okay, so John, since Aamir Khan is your number one, why don't you go ahead and give a little description?
I'm just, of course, I will do a dramatic thing from Internet Movie Database, which explain this plot. I'm sorry. Is someone opening up a beer as we're
Drink one
talking?
if you
Is
got
that what
one.
I just heard? Holy crap. PK, the alien being, a gentleman who encounters the other side of God and religion on Earth in India. He comes across as a simpleton, an innocent being who represents his kind from a distant planet. He meets Jagu, Anushka Sharma, and a plot soon unravels of how the contemporary society has been taken over dogmatic preachers from all major religions, of how the universal message of God is forgotten, and how people are manipulated by the so-called religious leaders, aptly called as managers by people. The movie is symbolic of how convoluted our belief system is, be it Hinduism, Islam, or Christianity.
What about the Sikhs?
PK. So,
Scene.
it's the scene. Thank you very much.
It is
Thank you.
convoluted.
I have to tell you, so I saw this movie before it came up on the wheel because, as everyone knows, incredibly a big Aamir Khan fan, and I had no idea about the controversy of the film. Now I completely understand why there was so much controversy about it, the way he treats organized religion. But on the whole, I love this movie. I think he's an amazing actor who created a childlike character, a funny movie, but I was not expecting the serious overtones about the religious aspect of it. In fact, as I was watching it, and he was mocking a lot of the religions. In fact, Shiva in the bathroom was one of the biggest controversies of the whole movie, and people were ticked off about it. I was thinking about Debbie, and I was kind of curious what her feeling was on it, on his take on religion. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I love this movie. I loved the woman their chemistry was wonderful. It was funny. It was goofy. It was very serious at times. And the end where he admits, he loves this woman and he ends up giving her up, basically. And that scene during the interview, the TV interview, was played really, really well by him and the woman. And I was also happy to see the TV producer or whatever he was, the guy who ran it, was the same guy who played Virus in Three Idiots. So it was good to see him back in action. But I really loved this movie, and I could understand why it ticked people off. And I was kind of I mean, my feeling was he wasn't attacking religion. He was attacking organized religion.
He was attacking specific frauds.
Yes. And I kind of got that, because when you think about all the different religions and all the different things that they do, I thought that was a really interesting take on it. I get where he was going with that. I don't know ultimately what the answer was for him, but I really enjoyed it. And there was also at the end, and I wish I knew the actor's name, I don't know it off the top of my head, but the cameo at the end when he came back off the ship with that other guy, that's a big Indian star too.
Oh.
So that cameo at the end was a really big deal. So I love this movie. I thought it was, I really enjoyed it. I liked the musical numbers too. And then that one scene with the terrorist, I mean, that came out of left field. Like, the tone completely changed in the movie, which typically happens. But I'm trying to know what Debbie thought about it, specifically Debbie, because I do understand the controversy.
What this whole podcast is about for me when we started was to understand other people. I know what I believe, but to me, as a witness to what I believe, I have to understand other cultures, other ways people think, how they arrived at where they are in their faith. And I just love the Indian people because they're so in, and to see a region so divisive in their faith, everyone living in a continent to other's faith. So I'm on the research side of this, and I really think that says it all about this movie. There were so many truths to it about what some charlatans will do to make money off their people's faith. Yeah, that's serious, but for the most part, this was a lighthearted look at that in a way. In so many misunderstandings, that's where troubles begin with faiths. We misunderstand each other, and we say, "Oh, this is terrible," and each faith has got to be, each person has, that's in their heart, that's what they believe. That's not a small thing. That's who they're made up. You can't, just because somebody is born in a region, and this is what mom and dad did, and grandma and grandpa and the ancestors did, what kind of, you have to use your mind to understand how things work. So that's where I'm at.
Obviously we made this film in the United States, we wouldn't be, poking fun of an Indian guru. We would be, unless it was Mike Myers, the love god, the love guru. But, so I guess this is his faith.
American films have no trouble poking fun at Christian leaders, though.
Exactly. That's what I
do
mean.
it all the time.
The only a minor time, the hard one is to pick fun of the Muslims because they're a little touchier on certain things.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
And he really doesn't. It's pretty gentle otherism. With the Muslims, he goes to give them the god wine because they were given the Hindu gods wine. And he was pretty easy on Christianity. Like when the person they're trying to convert us to Christianity, but if God wanted me to be a Christian, he would have me born a Christian. So Christianity got off pretty easy. And if you look at the last film,
there he goes.
There
he goes.
Even though the belief system in it was, reincarnation Hinduism. So India is a large, diverse country with a lot of religions. It's easy to see why this film would generate some, anger among certain groups. But, making fun of any particular, religion. I don't think he was saying Hinduism is false.
I wonder if you keep going away, Sean. I wonder if part of it is the way. I mean, we can talk a little bit more. You keep bouncing in and out, Sean.
My internet is unstable, but
yeah,
I'm trying to shut down.
That's an understatement.
But your marriage is very stable.
We
I mean,
work on it.
I don't know where the we got a lot of comments saying if you guys do this film, you might have some negative stuff thrown your way, because they were so upset about what was going on in the film.
Was the film a hit?
I think it was a
the film
hit. I think so.
It was a gigantic hit.
Yeah.
It was gigantic.
To me, the only thing that made me uncomfortable, because as an atheist, I don't mind people making fun of organized religion at all. I mean, as a matter of fact, I cheer it on. But when he put himself in all the different places that these things were happening, the stuff where he's rolling on the ground or he's at a Mecca, I don't know. He put himself in places that you could look at that and go, oh, he's kind of making fun. He's not, because if you think about what it is, this is a guy that gets dropped on the planet and he's learning about God. Why does everybody talk about God giving them everything? I don't understand why everybody talks. If you grow into that as a child, you learn about it. This guy gets dropped in and he's being told all these things. And I think maybe you could look at that and go, that's why people might have reacted when he put himself in all those different situations. And he's making, by his eyes and the things he was doing, he's joking about it. It looked like he was joking about it when he's just experiencing it. I'm not saying he was making, because I couldn't tell whether the guys who made this film are pro-religion or anti-religion. I think they're anti-organized religion.
Right.
But I don't think they're anti-religion. They're not anti-faith.
Well, I
because
think
ultimately,
monologue at the end.
And they're not anti-God either. He's not anti-God.
Right.
Is the feeling I got by the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think it was more when he was in all those different places. I think because he was just doing the rituals.
Yeah, but he's doing the rituals, making the faces that he makes.
Because he was confused about it. In one religion you gotta not eat. The other religion you have to eat. You know what I'm saying?
I'm talking about when he's rolling around with the helmet on.
I know.
And
right.
So,
Locking
but
the rest.
as a film, I totally dug the film, and I really dug the relationship between the kid that was in Three Idiots with him and the girl that they end up back together.
Yeah,
I just thought that got me at the end. You talk about that interview scene. What got me was those two people reconnecting, and what that meant.
I was beginning to wonder whether we were going to see him again. It's sort of like it was like a short film, and then you don't see him again for 2 hours.
But doesn't that whole scene at the end solve all the problems and misunderstandings? Because I think that's what it boils down to. What I initially said, God, God is God, and there's only one God, right? We all know that, right?
Well,
except for Ralph.
I don't believe that, but go ahead.
I don't either, but that's all right.
I mean, one supreme being. There would be no other. I don't know, but the basic thing is, at the end, it was all a misunderstanding between the couple. She thought he was.
No, that was her family did that to her. Their families did that. You can't date a Muslim.
Mistaken that the note was to him.
Yeah.
Right. Because the families didn't like that he was a Muslim, and then that guy, the bald guy, the
love was still,
the guru. Yeah,
there.
no, she loved him. They never gave up. Anyway, yeah, no, I mean that.
Now there is serendipity right there, and when you talk about serendipitous situations, how could it not be God? Leading them down the path,
or an alien.
Exactly, or an alien who was supposed to be, I guess,
acting like God. He was a God figure.
Now you got to look at it. This is our second Indian film in a row with an alien.
Right.
Because
this is a little like Being There, right? Being There, which is another one where it's slightly not the brightest guy who everybody misinterprets.
He should redo. That would be a great film for Aamir Khan.
Right.
What?
Being There. Yeah.
They did the remake of Forrest Gump.
All right, Chris, you talked a lot the last time. Let's see what you got to say on this one.
I'll keep it nice and short this time, everybody. It's funny. I know what you meant in the sense that it felt like a short film at the beginning of this movie because, I knew that there was an alien involved. Obviously, he drops down there, super jacked, by the way.
Yeah.
Apparently, everybody on his planet is super jacked. And anyway,
and naked.
But their ears stick out a little bit.
And then there's like a really sweet, meet cute with these two people, and it's a really, and it happens in Bruges, which is
In Bruges, I
kinda
know.
funny
I
'cause we
laughed
just
about that
Relates
one.
to our previous film as well.
Right.
the Banshees of Inisherin, who that same guy directed in Bruges. Anyway, so I got a little chuckle out of that, but it was a really kind of, that was a very cute, thing. And in part of my mind, I'm like, oh, well, is this gonna somehow morph into a thing about, romance of, between different cultures and different religions and things like
Mork
that.
and Mindy.
And then he disappears, and of course we know now that it was all a big misunderstanding. And you know what's
Wrong
great
number,
about-
you could say.
Yeah.
Ooh,
But what's really great about that setup is
callback.
I, like everybody else and everybody in the film, just thought that's what happened. Like that,
Right.
that he gave into societal familial pressure and wrote that note. Like she even hands him the cat, and like looking back when you see all the little pieces, you're like, yeah, of course it makes sense that it could be a totally, because even the other bride was not European. She was
Right.
not a European woman.
And gave her a funny look too.
Yeah,
When she
and
handed her the
so-
cat.
Anyway, but anyway, I thought this movie was really silly. I thought the way that it tried to like broach a very serious subject was silly, and I get why they went that way. It's funny because, when they talk about like the guru that her father followed so closely and everything, I couldn't help but think of, like, to some extent in what he was trying to get at. I couldn't help but think of American televangelists, these people who were, especially during like, Jim Baker and Tammy Faye, like they're the classic, most famous, maybe not the absolute worst, but probably one of the worst examples out there of people who were bilking people out of their money. And maybe this guy wasn't quite as, mercenary as they were. I'm not going to compare too many people to that, but you get that feeling that that's what he's kind of rebelling against, or that's what he's kind of speaking out against, this idea of somewhat the monetization of God, and all of these little things that you're expected to do that go along with it, and, propping up the organization behind it all. But all in all, I thought this was pretty great movie. And when it, or pretty good, especially when it brought it all back together at the end. This guy, I mean, he's obviously a really physically talented comedian, and I don't know, his I don't mean to make fun of somebody's look, but his ears just, I don't know if that's on purpose or if they're really just natural.
They must, because they brought.
No, his ears are normally big, but he actually had them jutting out more.
Oh,
to be more
okay. Because I
alien.
was going to
Yeah.
say they seem
Yeah.
I
really
thought
lame.
so.
Yeah, no, he did that. And it was very painful too for him.
I bet, but
Yeah.
but like a lot of these films, I think it went on a little too long. Kind of I felt like the middle act where he's kind of going through all the stuff and he's with her, but I really was not. I was expecting the Pakistani guy to show up as, she falls in love with him and then he comes back, and then there
Right.
was going to be that setup. I really liked the way that they broke it down, where it was just a huge misunderstanding. And you know what? He may have feelings for her now, but he's like, you know what? She's obviously really, because with the whole hand thing, he can see her
Yeah.
soul and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, I found it really interesting. And I think that they pumped up the silliness in this film, because it was a really silly movie in a lot of ways. But I felt like they pumped up the silliness to maybe tamp down some of the
Yeah.
outrage that they
Take
knew
the
they were
sting out of
gonna
it.
that they were
Well,
gonna.
I mean, until the train explosion, then it's not silly anymore.
yeah.
I mean, you talk about a 90-degree or 180-degree turn.
Well, I just think of what the great director Billy Wilder said. If you're going to tell the truth, make it funny or they'll kill you.
Yeah.
That's so profound, really.
Well, he was Billy Wilder.
That was super profound. That I don't
He
get it.
directed.
But
Sunset
I know-
Boulevard. He could
Yeah,
do no
I know.
wrong.
Drew, what do you got?
I have to say, I was concerned when we picked this movie. First of all, that John may have just been blinded by Aamir Khan, which I totally understand. And that blindness is going to lead us to the Forrest Gump remake, which is on the wheel. And after seeing this movie, I can see why, whether that is a good idea or not, he's the right guy to do it. I was really concerned because I didn't know much about the movie other than it was an alien that I guess people think is a man, and he seems lost. So I was concerned: is this some sort of remake of Kpax, which is a dreadful movie?
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, awful movie, awful
Who
man.
molested on that set?
And he, anybody under 16 probably. So he, I thought maybe is it a remake of E.T.? That'd be pretty ambitious. And it wasn't either of those things.
Starman was the other one I thought about.
Oh yeah, Starman,
Jeff
or
Bridges'
The Man
Starman.
Who Fell to Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of different ones. I don't know. To me, I found it was kind of very broad, and I thought it was pleasant, and I didn't disagree with the sentiments of the movie as he was exploring these different religions and discovering what was the same and what was different, and that they all shared the same kind of nonsense as far as like your leaders are telling you something that doesn't line up with what I'm seeing as an outsider, which was interesting. And I mean, yeah, that guru is as mercenary as any televangelist. I mean, that's when he gets called on it. They're like, why would you build this temple? If you could collect all this money, you could feed people. And there's not really a good answer for that if you don't, if you think that people who raise money for, for charity for religious reasons should do that, then that's what you should do. And also that musical motif for PK that keeps getting repeated, it's so annoying. It's so distracted me. It made me think every time, I get it, he's silly. So that kind of bothered me. And then the train blew up.
Yeah.
And then the train blew up and his friend died. And that really kind of got through to me, because to me, I mean, that's what happens when you challenge religion. You stab Salman Rushdie, you shoot up Charlie Hebdo, you blow up this or that house of worship. So that felt very real. Like Ralph said, a big tonal change, but it's an Indian movie. There's a lot more of that we have seen than in a lot of the movies that come out of this country. But I really wasn't into it until the call from Delhi to the Pakistan embassy. Yeah. And then I welled up. And I totally got into it. I thought it was beautiful and sweet. Of course,
that was so well acted on both sides.
Oh yeah, the whole thing was just great. And I was
kid was great.
Wondering, how are they going to bring this guy back and how are they going to resolve it? And I loved what they did with it. And then I got really sad because I found out what happened to the actor who played Sarfaraz, which is a really awful, tragic story.
What is it?
He took his own life. And there was all this stuff with people were stealing money from him, and an actress and other people behind his management were arrested, and he may have had family members giving him antidepressants and psychotropic drugs without them being prescriptions. So the whole thing was just so tragic, because I remember I'm watching this guy, and you only see him for essentially a few minutes in the beginning, and I was like, wow, that guy, we're gonna definitely see him in other movies. Look at him, he's just incredible, like powerhouse of a guy, and he's gone. And so that made me really sad, but it also made me appreciate that he is not in that movie very much, but he definitely made a real impression. And he and Jagu together were very cute.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a kid from he was in Three Idiots as well, right? That's one of the guys in Three Idiots.
I thought
it was one of his
so.
friends. I swear I've seen him before.
Friend that didn't come to the wedding.
I could be wrong.
That's the guy who killed himself.
It's the same director as Three Idiots, and obviously Aamir Khan, but I don't know that he's in that.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
They don't. They don't list Three.
I welled up as well when she made that call to him. I lost it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It hit me in a way that I didn't expect it to hit me. I like that couple. I fell in love with her. That dance number on her balcony.
He was 34 years old, by the way.
Wow.
Yes, he was very young.
She is very charming. That woman.
But even the way, I'm going to go back to Aamir Khan, because when he was sitting there,
of course you are.
Well, he realized what happened to her, and he knows that this woman who he loves and has fallen in love with, he is going to give up.
Yeah, he let her
but
go.
He's still going to do it. But the look on his face,
I never bought into. I mean, I know you love the guy. I get it, but I never.
He was
bought
great.
Into the,
Why?
I don't know. I just didn't. He's too, like Drew was saying. He's just too broad. He's broad. I mean,
he's supposed to be broad in this.
Well,
not when he's writing "I love you." Not when he's writing "I love
like
you."
He's Chaplin or something. I mean,
right?
He's
exactly.
Really he's very physical.
And
I mean, he does that successfully. Whether
I'm
it's
saying
your
that's
taste or not
fine,
is
but then to have a
different,
train crash in the middle of it. And
well, yeah,
have him
but
still
I
be
mean
proud of it.
that is what we've talked about, these big tonal shifts. But like, what is he in real life? He's like 5'5" or something.
Yeah.
So he's a few 4 inches shorter than the lead actress, Anushka, and he really leaned into the whole chaplain physical thing going on. And I watched the movie and I ended up thinking this movie did a very good job of what it set out to do. That wasn't as interesting to me as I would have liked what they set it out to do, but they did it. And I think it deserves, respect for that. And I'm not surprised that it was both a hit because it is charming, but also a source of controversy and confusion.
Anytime you do a show about a movie, a film, anything about religion, you're going to get somebody swinging at you.
Right.
I mean, they do this all the time. Every movie ever made about Jesus Christ here gets vilified, any religious film. But I mean, I was surprised at how our people were warning, like, you guys be careful with this one because you're going to get some heat. I was a little surprised. And then when I saw it, I'm like, I can see it, but still, it just came at me as a little bit light. I didn't feel like he was making fun of religion, but he was definitely. I like the idea that you're dropping someone in who has no clue about religion and trying to explain to him why in this religion you worship the cow, in that religion you eat the cow, in this religion, Bob. I liked all that. I did like that, and I thought that was.
And that
someone specifically brought up Shiva in the bathroom. That whole scene with Shiva, that was a big controversy.
Oh, where he beats that guy up in there, or
the guy who was Shiva,
right?
If you say this, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, we are in our kitchen, and I don't do much in the kitchen. I don't cook anymore.
Oh, you're really cooking in the kitchen.
The most important thing that I love about this film is, it's
Aunt and Uncle. Don't do that, please.
Auntie and Uncle.
Auntie and Uncle. Go ahead, Jebby. I'm sorry. Sean throws me off when he does that.
Watch. Look.
Oh.
I literally just threw up in my mouth. Just now, I just threw up in my mouth, just so you know that.
I'll play it brother next time.
What my point was, it's so good to question. That's what I love about the podcast, what I love about life. You can actually, be an alien and seek God. You know what I mean? That's the message for everybody. Seek God.
Well, he was seeking God to specifically get his thing back.
Right.
His thing back.
The remote control.
His amulet,
his amulet.
Look, I mean, most religions don't invite you to question them. I mean, I am Jewish and grew up Jewish, and the way that Judaism is as a religion that you grow up in is. I learned as I learned about the rest of the world that it was a little different because there's a lot of discussion and conversation about what things mean, and that was different than a lot of other faiths where it's like believe these 5 things, believe these 3 things. Not that within those faiths people don't disagree or even kill each other or whatever, and not that all Jewish sects agree because they don't. But the idea of him encountering this and then asking genuinely honest questions, there's no malice in the guy. I thought, okay, well, I mean, that he's not asking anything that doesn't make sense. And he's most importantly not asking things that people in the audience of the Guru and all these other places haven't thought of. Like these are the same questions that the Drowned Gods congregation were asking him in Super Deluxe. There were only about 15 of them, but they were having a real problem with, like, what are you really saying? What does it really mean? Why isn't God listening? Why shouldn't I take my son to the hospital? All that kind of stuff. And, the whole idea of people grabbing onto that viral wrong number thing and all that stuff, that felt pretty realistic to me as far as a response that people could connect to.
Well, I love the old phrase, Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child has got its own. That's, pretty much, you got to seek. You can't go with what you've been taught where you are. You have to actually experience that seeking, and that seeking will lead you.
Well, it reminds me of this preacher. He was doing a tent revival meeting, and all sorts of people out before him. And he said, I have a question for you. I know this interdenominational and all, but I'm just curious. How many of you are like me, a Baptist? And they all raised their hand except one. And he looked at the man. He goes, and what are you? And he goes, I'm a Presbyterian. And he goes, well, why are you a Presbyterian? He goes, well, my father was a Presbyterian. My grandfather was a Presbyterian. And my great-grandfather was a Presbyterian. And the preacher smirks and says, well, what would you be if your great-grandfather was an idiot? And he goes, I don't know, a Baptist? So there are traditions.
Yeah, that's
If
why
you got a rim shot, you got to have a rim shot,
I
right?
can't find it. I got it here.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really, but
I don't know. I don't like to talk about
He was
religion too.
making fun of Hinduism in particular, but I know they hold things sacred that we don't necessarily, they hold certain things sacred that we're probably very offended by, and I can see why people would be.
I do too.
But I think, like his character, he seemed to have a pretty pure heart about the whole thing, and it seems like most of the audience accepted the film.
That being said, I understand that, but strictly speaking, that film was written sort of with bias, with a negative connotation towards, God. I really.
Which film? This one?
The one we're talking about, Ralph.
PK? Well, you said that film.
not
towards
this
God.
film.
You said that film.
I don't.
Yeah.
It wasn't towards
I don't
God.
think he was negative towards God. I think he was negative
No.
Religion.
towards
I don't-
division.
Organized religion.
Organized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's different. I think his
I
speech at
know.
the end.
He said, if there's one God that created everyone, why can't we just worship the God and get rid of these religions?
And I did like that scene where they bring the 4 or 5 people on with different dress.
Right.
And they go, well, he's actually not a Christian. He's a Hindu. He flipped everybody's stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's not about the people. It's about what you guys wear. How can that's so crazy? And and that takes an innocent, person who's never, been taught anything else to kind of point out what's wrong with the system.
Right.
Which is probably where he got into trouble, because you're pointing out what's wrong with the system. Like Kevin Smith's Dogma. I mean, you look at Dogma, he got some crap for that one too.
Yeah,
some
but that
of the
was
blasphemous
hilarious.
stuff. It is very funny.
It's funny. When I saw it in the theaters, I saw it with someone who was Catholic. And I really think you really had to be a pretty serious Catholic just to get all the jokes. Or
Right.
stuff that would
It goes
fly
deep.
Yeah.
You forced us to watch that movie, Ralph.
Oh, you forced
I did force you to watch that film. Yes,
That was on Cue It Up. We
Yeah.
did.
You were so
an episode
surprised
of-
that I liked that.
Yeah, because it's
And
a good
John, you
film.
were
You got
outraged.
taste. You have taste.
We like to get the brothers. Wait a minute. You talk about us being auntie and uncle. These two brothers, the Quattrucci brothers, when they get
Quattrucci.
going, whoa.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
we agree on this one. I think.
Yeah,
I think.
Aamir Khan is a brilliant actor.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
really.
Right.
I wouldn't go that far. I like him. I do like him, but
Ralph, if you
Yeah.
look at his other roles and compare it to this one, I mean, it's
I know I'm not an
Really,
actor, John. I
he's
don't
like-
see the.
No,
I don't
it's
see
not
the
even that.
subtleties. I don't see the
It's not-
subtleties of his work the way you
I
do.
think Drew was absolutely right, because and I've said this before with him. He does it with his eyes. It's Chaplin-esque. You could see
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin playing this role.
Why
Absolutely,
is
you
that
could see
whole
that.
thing with the food in the mouth? That plant he has to eat.
The Paan? I think.
Yeah.
it's
What is
called?
what is the actor's motivation for having to shove that in your mouth?
That
all
I
the
can't
time?
answer, but he had like 10,000 of them. His
I
teeth
know.
were
Why
green.
do that? It didn't add to like I thought maybe if he spit that out and something happened, or he rubbed it on somebody and he cured somebody, but it didn't. It was just he was
I don't know.
eating
Maybe
it.
that's the only thing he could eat. I don't know.
They didn't. Did they explain that?
Chris,
That's the only.
explain it to
They
us.
didn't. They didn't. But I don't like a lot of backstory.
He was chewing the whole movie.
Yeah, and he had it kept. I thought the gag was just that it always looked like he had needed to wipe his mouth or
Like
something.
lipstick.
Well, it did.
Like,
It made
he
his-
was
it made
eating
his-
It makes his
He ate it to keep his lips that color.
to keep it that looked
He
like
wanted
looked like
that.
it had chapped lips. It was like, come
Yeah.
on, man, put some stuff on there.
Not Chaplin.
But
Chaplin.
again, it had no. That's what I mean. It had no. There was no reason for that, except it's just an acting thing he wanted to do, because it had no
That's what-
plot. There was no
That's
plot.
what great actors do. They need, they need that stuff. They need those little ticks, Ralph.
It's called something. What is it, Sean?
It's
John's
called
the
tilting.
actor.
Foreshadowing, but it doesn't pay off.
No.
No, it's like Robert De Niro having to wear
It's
when he did
business.
The Untouchables. He
Yeah,
wanted
wore
to wear
Capone's underwear.
the underwear of
Yeah.
what's his name, the gangster.
Yeah, Al Capone. It's like editing
Like-
with a metronome. You know what I mean? It's like editing with a metronome. Not all editors do that. But
I
some
don't edit
people
with a
do.
metronome.
No, but you use something as a metronome. You
I do,
listen to
I do.
podcasts.
I don't understand why you're turning this
It's a
on me.
beat.
I'm
You
asking.
just something you do. There's no explanation for it. You just
But
do
it was annoying. But as Chris said, it was annoying because I'm looking at his lips, going, "Okay, what's the
Then
reason for this red?"
he accomplished what he wanted. He annoyed you.
It worked.
And
Thank
that's
you,
what
Aamir
Aamir
Khan.
That's what Aamir
Thank
Khan
you, Aamir
does.
Khan.
That's what makes
Can't
him
wait
so
for the
great.
next one.
By the way, I reached out to his production company to try to get him on the show.
Oh,
Stalker.
Whatever.
what'd they say?
I haven't heard back yet. But someone in the comment section said, oh, actually, no, it was the guy, Ralph, that you brought on where we did his we talked about his movie.
Boomer.
He said that the Indian actors are much more willing to go on stuff like this than like American actors. Because I've been watching the two guys from RRR. They're doing everything. I've seen them on all kinds of shows in the US, and they are thrilled to be doing this because they always say, we only go there on holiday. Now we're stars out here. We're doing stuff out here. It's so great to watch them, and they're so embracing this.
Well,
he's probably too big a star for that.
Well, we would be thrilled to have him doing stuff here with us.
I mean, my goodness, we had Lou Diamond Phillips on.
Oh my!
The first rule in sales:
Can't
you
get
don't
bigger
ask,
than
you
that.
don't get. You don't ask.
We
you
had
don't get.
Tommy from Friday the 13th, Part 5.
Right. We did.
We had that
I
guy
like
from
that movie.
Spinal Tap.
Final
That guy.
Tap, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Real gangster.
Can
All
I
right.
can I ask our Indian viewers, our audience, a question? I don't know enough about this to know what it means, but we watch these movies and then we read about it, we learn about it. I remember when I watched the movie, I really liked Sanjay Dutt. He plays Byron. He plays his friend that gets blown up in the train. And I read about how Sanjay Dutt was actually arrested and implicated in the bombings in Mumbai in 1993. And I know that his participation was mostly exonerated, and he only accepted a weapon and things like that. But that seemed really weird to cast a guy who was connected to a series of terrorist bombings as the victim of a terrorist bombing. So, I mean, I'm sure everyone in the audience knows who Sanjay Dutt is and knew that connection. I didn't know it when I watched it, but when I was reading about the cast later, and I found him especially wonderful as an actor in the movie, I said, okay, that's weird. So am I reading anything into it? Do you guys have any thoughts about
I didn't know anything about that.
I'd like our commenters to please let me know, because I'm genuinely curious. And
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things about exploring these movies, is finding all these wrinkles and things that I just wouldn't otherwise see. And that one really got my attention. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think
you in
what
advance.
would be the equivalent of that over here. I mean, other than putting
Other
somebody
than
in
Ray
film.
Lewis.
Alec Baldwin doing a movie where he shoots somebody.
I think if I ever see him shoot a gun in a film anymore, I'm like, what?
Now that's irony.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it would be something that's actually happened quite a bit. It would be Patty Hearst showing up in a bunch of John Waters movies.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good call, Chris.
That's a good point.
Thanks.
All right.
We gotta let Chris speak more, because he comes up
He's
with
so
gems.
good.
That's a good point, Chris.
I'm telling you,
Okay.
Chris, good job, man.
Chris,
So-
I'm glad you're on this podcast.
I
and that
don't
you
know.
speak
I'm
periodically.
fascinated with that whole Patty Hearst story. It's kind of
Oh, so
It's
it's
a
kind of a
crazy
sick
story.
stalker thing.
Oh,
It's
unlike
just-
yours.
Now,
Hey,
we want to say this to
Don't go there.
our friends
Don't
from
go there.
India with this film. We just love you guys that you watch us, and if I've said anything offensive, please forgive.
I think
Well,
we could all ask
you're-
for the same thing, especially
Yes.
Yeah, but
when
you're
we
about
rate
6 months late on that.
when we
Come on,
rate
that
this. Hang on,
should've-
Zuby do or Zuby don't. Now, I think we know, but we got to be careful because we might get some hits on this one. All right, John.
You know me. If Aamir Khan's in it, it's Zuby Doo.
I hope that holds for if we spin that
Zuby
over.
Doo.
Chris.
So far, it has.
I'm gonna go. Zuby Doo, kind of a tepid Zuby Doo.
Oh yeah, that was kind of tepid.
It was. I mean, I enjoyed the film, especially the ending. The beginning and the ending
Yeah.
were really. It really, like I said, it really surprised me.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to come back in a very different way, but the middle part of it was really kind of a silly film, and like I said, I think that was done. I mean, he's kind of a silly actor anyway, but like I think that was really done on purpose to maybe tamp down some of the ire that was coming.
I would imagine.
I
think he would have done it anyway, given the kind
Yeah.
of work that especially all that red stuff in his mouth. Drew.
I mean, Aamir Khan's one of the only guys that could get away with something like
Yeah,
this,
probably.
with his fame and everything. So it's an interesting use of his fame. I would give it a similarly tepid Zuby Doo. I didn't think it was a bad movie, but when it finally got me with the Delhi call to the embassy, it really got me. So I can't say that I didn't connect with the movie on some level. So Zuby Doo-ish will do.
Okay. Sean and Debbie.
Well, I know exactly what you guys are saying with the Zooby-Doo-ish. However, the ending, and I would agree with that, but then the ending, I say Zooby-Dooby-Doo. The
And
ending, just for the ending, because it seemed like time flipped on itself and it fast forward in some kind of speed, like the dancing thing.
No, that whole scene was really powerful.
know.
That entire scene was really
It
powerful.
was just fast and furious, and I loved it.
Fast and Furious 6. We're a family. But
What's your
We're up
opinion?
to 10 now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was about to say.
and I have to agree with Drew about one thing that annoyed me. That theme song.
Whew.
That little theme thing when we saw them. That was getting tiresome. But I enjoyed it. And I may not be as sensitive to the issues, and please don't blame us. We're only reviewing the film. We didn't write it or direct it. But I'm Zooby-Doo on this one. And I'm like pretty much everyone. That ending was really strong. And they, despite the fact that it's a silly comedy, that really tugged the heartstrings. Sort of like Chaplin at the end of City Lights. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
You guys really want to compare him to Chaplin? You're really going for it, huh?
I think he's absolutely in that tradition.
Absolutely.
Tradition, I'm sure. Yeah, he's definitely
He's
in
in
that.
the talkie. He's a talkie version, but I mean, he definitely.
No, he's definitely.
I mean, the way he does physical comedy.
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
No,
Very
I
physical
don't
act.
disagree. Listen, as much as I'm kind of going at John a little bit about this and
Little
his
bit.
obsession with
I
him.
would love to seriously talk to this guy. It would be so mind-blowing if he would come on our podcast. It
why
would.
not?
You're
That's not-
listening.
That's true.
All right,
Look,
I'm
think
gonna-
it's-
I'm
I
gonna
think
rate
it's
it.
Really, I'm sorry.
My
go ahead.
turn. I'm going to say Zooby-Doo. As an atheist, I am fascinated by religion. As much as I don't want to participate in any of it, I'm fascinated by all the facets of it. And I think this was sort of a nice look at looking through somebody's eyes who just dropped in and you're trying to explain. I enjoyed that aspect. And I, like Drew, I lost it at the end when he makes the call to that kid. And I was happy to see those two back together because I just
That
thought
was
they were
very
really
sweet.
cute. I thought
That was
they
very
were
sweet.
And
nice
that woman,
couple.
we should also say that woman, I don't know her name, but she was wonderful in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, she was so good in this, and the way she played off of him and the emotional scenes at the beginning and at the end.
No, she was
just-
great. And
she
he was
wonderful.
that guy who unfortunately you said has passed away. He was wonderful as well. And it's just, they were
Yeah,
a
that
nice
was a cute
couple.
scene at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I just think it's wonderful that, movies made 100 years apart on different sides of the world are clearly connected, and the influence of seeing somebody like Chaplin being, an American actor at the beginning of the art form, and you can draw a line to performances all over the world. And that just shows you not only how, of course, powerful and influential Hollywood or movies in general are, but how much we are actually connected by them. The same way you can draw a straight line from Buster Keaton to the Mad Max Fury Road approach to movie making. It's the level.
I knew you were going to
the
end
level
up at
of
Mad
physical-
Max Fury Road.
The level of
I knew it.
physical comedy and action and all that kind of stuff. The fact that anybody in the world can watch these movies like we're doing and have what I would say is the right reaction. I mean, I think we're responding to the things the filmmaker wanted us to respond to, even if we don't get all the references and stuff. And I just think that's really neat.
Well, and you got to remember too, you guys are talking about the theme music and when every time he walked in, he did. These Indian films aren't subtle, right? They're not. They're very in your face. So you kind of expect that
Some
he
of
would
them
have
are
his own theme
subtle.
song.
Some of
What's
them
that?
Some of the films are subtle.
Like the Lunchbox.
Yeah, Lunchbox.
Lunchbox is probably the subtlest one we've seen. That's more traditionally what we're
Ego
used
was
to
very
here.
subtle. I thought
Ego was very subtle.
Ego was
I love that one of our commenters said, "You wouldn't want to see how a fly eats. You wouldn't want to watch the film."
That was great. And I put a link up to Jeff Goldblum in The Fly.
Oh, yes.
So you can say, well, we already know how a fly eats, and you are not wrong.
All right, so let's spin the wheel. We're getting very close to restocking and the film that we don't know if we want to watch.
How
or not,
many
but-
films, when this is all done, how many films we're going to put on the wheel?
About 100, right?
We'll put more. We'll just
We can't put 100. I mean,
We'll put-
Okay, 50,
50.
150
50.
then.
We can put
50.
50 on there. It'll still look
Wow.
pretty good.
all right.
All right.
That's a lot of films.
All right, there we go. We're down to 5. You're talking
Yeah,
about
looking
putting
a little
50 on.
sparse. That
Getting
wheel's looking
sparse.
a little sparse. Which one is the Forrest Gump one?
The one that
Losh.
says Forrest Gump.
Yeah, it says
Oh,
Forrest Gump in front.
sorry.
There
It's
we go.
upside down.
Just to make sure before we spin, are there any of these movies that don't star Aamir Khan? I just wanted to check.
like
I honestly
Star
don't
on
know.
Earth, Lagan, Forrest Gump.
Lagarde,
Oh.
there's 2 there, so 2 out of 3. So
I
we're
didn't
guaranteed
know.
the chances
2
of
out of
us seeing
5.
him again are pretty strong. No,
Oh,
well,
that's not. Damn.
No Amir Khan, I feel cheated.
I don't know. Do we
can't-
know he's not in this film?
I can't.
That we
watch.
don't know.
Do we know anything about this movie?
Okay,
It's
so
a big action movie superhero thing.
Oh, well, that's right up my alley.
my favorite.
Maybe
You
we'll
know
get
that.
And it's on
Guy
Netflix.
From
Oh, good. It's on Netflix. Ralph's gonna love that movie.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a beam in the sky, right?
Well, it says a tailor gains special powers after being struck by lightning, but must take down an unexpected foe if he is to become the superhero his hometown in Kerala needs. And it's a Malayalam language film, which we haven't watched a lot of those either. So I am very curious to see how this fits into the bigger picture.
And how long is the movie?
It is 2 hours and 38 minutes.
That's
So
a shorty.
Wow.
That's nothing.
Short film.
Wow.
Nice. All right.
Awesome.
So there it is. Next week. Everybody, have a good week.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
before we have a good week, make sure you subscribe, smash the like button, and hit
You
the
don't have to
notification
smash it, you
button.
just have to tap it.
No,
Tap it
no,
gently.
you have to smash it. Don't listen to Chris.
It's tap.
Smash the
I
friggin'
don't want to be responsible
button.
for replacing people's phones.
No,
and
it affects
keyboards.
the
I'm with
algorithm.
Chris.
That's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
The harder you hit it, the better it is for us.
All right.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Get my ears out.
What an actor. What an actor. Look
Ralph,
at that. Like this.
Ralph, you're a
Now
great
take
editor.
off your shirt.
You're a great editor, Ralph. A great editor.
All right,
By the way,
everybody,
that
have a
was,
good week.
that was his
That's gonna-
first
what?
movie
Oh.
where he was naked. First movie he was ever naked.
Oh, I
that
was
movie.
I was glad that the stereo didn't swing too far one way or the other. John would have been panic stricken.
I would
if
have
he
been.
saw-
I would have stopped watching the movie at that point because I'm terrified of full frontal nudity, as everybody knows.
Nobody.
So
It's
can we
okay.
just,
Only male full frontal nudity.
can we
Oh,
just
yeah.
all agree that Julian Sands is probably dead? Is that like a thing? Not to bring everybody down.
I don't know why you did
Wow.
that. I saw John Malkovich
Well,
was
we let him
mentioning what a
talk.
good friend he is, and he's
Oh
he's-
wow.
he's, you know.
Well, he still hasn't been found. Wow.
What happened? What's going on?
Julian Sands disappeared hiking in a mountain.
He didn't like our review of
Yeah.
whatever that movie was. What was that?
He was
movie?
looking for a mountain with a view.
Room with a view.
Don't be mean. That's awful.
No.
Jesus. All right, that's
All right.
enough. Have a good week. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.